As an e4 player, you've probably came across the Caro-Kann at least once in your life, and it can definitely be something quite tricky to handle, especially as a beginner. However, I'm here with the good news. I was able to find a variation where over 1.2 million players are literally making the same mistake. At this point, I think there is simply no redemption for these guys. And the main reason of why I'm recording this video in the first place is that I find it so unique that on only move 4, so many players are making an actual mistake. Now, I know what you may be wondering. Alright, what is this funny little accent guy talking about? I'm talking about the pseudo Panov variation, where after c4, d5, we take twice. You heard it right, getting this isolated pawn on purpose, because taking back with a queen is a mistake. To get a better understanding of how often this is happening, I decided to make this little chart where, if you look at it, the red part is representing the move queen takes on d5, which most of the players are making. But wait a second. You may be wondering, alright, what is up with the green part, genius? That is how often they decide to play the best move, knight f6. But I did a little bit of digging and I found out a pretty interesting fact related to players that are below 2000. Alright, so let's imagine your opponent finds the move knight f6. And then we go for this interesting attempt of playing queen a4, which is putting black in a very difficult situation where, in order to get a reasonable position, they need to come up with the move knight bd7. Now, you may be wondering, alright, somebody who plays the move knight f6 is probably already aware of this. Well, let's take a look on the statistics together. According to the online database, most of your opponents that are below 2000 are going to be playing the move bishop to d7 by far. And it's like not even close, where white just gets a very annoying pressure after the move queen b3. Now, if you're having a look onto the chart, the orange color represents how often people are going to play the move bishop to d7. The green color stands for those that are going to be playing the best move. And the red color stands for the both the sisters that are going to play queen d7 and then get their queen lost after bishop to b5. So this video is going to be a full guide on how to play the pseudo Panov against the Caro-Kann. We're going to start off by looking on how to deal with the move knight to f6 first. I'm going to be playing a game against bishop to d7. Then I'm going to show you the best reply for black and how you are supposed to counter this in case you are watching me for my Caro-Kann. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to be playing a game against queen takes on d5, showcasing why gaining this tempo with knight c3 is so important and why it is simply better in these lines. Right, everybody, getting another white game. Gonna be going for e4, and we do see that opponent is going for the Caro-Kann. Now, I have shown this cheeky idea in the past, but I'm gonna be showing you another one. Just because I'm such a nice guy, I'm gonna be showing you the pseudo Panov, and they usually already make a mistake by going queen d5. But the opponent seems to have learned his lesson. And he plays knight f6. That's the proper way of doing it. Idea is to go knight d5 and avoid white from playing knight to c3. Developing while gaining a tempo, which is kind of important, even though at first you may be like, oh, that's maybe not such a big deal. It kind of is. So knight f6. All right, now I've got some options. There's like knight c3, which is simply leading to kind of normal isolated queens pawns positions, which are definitely playable. But that is not really the point. We're definitely up to way trickier business. Bishop check is quite annoying. And bishop d7 is already a little bit of a mistake. Now, the point with this check is that, first of all, queen d7 will be pretty nice. Both this gambit, bishop b5, win the queen, and knight b to d7 is known to be the main move. And then we play queen b3, covering the d5 pawn. Black is gonna be fine if they know what they're doing, but the path is sealed with many interesting traps that I think it's definitely worth trying. Anyways, let's not get sidetracked. Bishop d7, queen to b3. Hitting that pawn, and okay, if opponent doesn't show any critical ideas, then we may just end up keeping this pawn on d5, which, hey, it's pretty nice if you ask me. And, well, typically black ends up fianchettoing. Okay, he plays queen a5, hitting this. Now, queen b7, that's definitely something we should consider. There is queen d5, there's queen trade. I think just knight c3, keeping this threat of taking the pawn is superior, so not giving him an easy way out, basically. And just look at him. He's already so desperate he had to develop queen on move 6. I mean, we kind of did the same, but we have a reason. And what is this move? Is this actually just a big blunder? It looks like that. I mean, queen b7, knight c7. Do we have like a final blow to finish him off? I don't see it, but a pawn is a pawn. You know what they say. Targeting the rook and the knight. Knight to c7. There is this idea of trying to deflect his queen. So you can go b4. But then queen b6. Sort of keeping everything protected. And I don't want to trade queens. So he may be willing to play this move next. So how about we are not allowing that? And we just develop with bishop c4, which is actually a very typical move for the variation because that's where the bishop develops, so we get to keep this annoying pawn. And as I was about to say a little bit earlier, because of this pawn on d5, that's making it awkward for black to play e6 after de. They get like an isolated pawn. It's pretty ugly. Typically, black needs to fianchetto, and if they follow theoretical paths, normally they delay trying to win back the d5 pawn, they finish development, and only kind of in the middle game they will start attacking that pawn and eventually winning it back, because it's pretty hard for white to keep it. But patience and 1300s opponents are two words that do not belong in the same sentence. So, therefore, I believe this line has great potential against the Caro-Kann. Okay, we see bishop to c8. Hitting the queen. Opponent desperately trying to do something. I can be very cheeky and go bishop to b5. Now, with that, I'm trying to say, okay, take it. Then I'm not going to take, nor take the rook. I'm going to go queen c6. Ultra cheeky. Okay, this has to be the move. I predict checkmate on c8. Let's see. I mean, whenever I predict something, it's not necessarily a signal that it will happen, but it could be. So for that, we'll need him to take the bait, which he did not. Of course, why would he? I mean, why would they let me do my goddamn content? I mean, they never do. Hard life of a YouTuber, but I'm not here to complain. All right, bishop to d7. How are we supposed to handle this? There is definitely trading idea. There is b4, setting up a little bait. Queen b4, bishop d7, we win. B4 kind of forcing him to go back. Trade queens, take, go for endgame. That's like reasonable. However, I wish there was more. I don't know. That's kind of what she said, so. Let's just go knight f3. Get castled. It is what it is. I don't see the big win. So, fine. Having an extra pawn. Managed to raise an eyebrow. That's already enough from the opening. So, Just ready to castle. Okay, rook to b6 hitting my queen. Think it's fair to just go back. Being this pawn well defended. Still, I mean, look, it's almost move 20. This guy has not touched any of his kingside pieces. It's like, you can already feel the dust starting starting to tell. Okay, rook to b4. I mean, maybe he's just doing some kind of crazy challenge where he doesn't have to move his kingside pieces. If that's the case, so be it. Can go this greedy, but yeah, just gonna go queen e2, ready to castle. He can win back the pawn. But still, I have another extra pawn, so that's not something that really bothers me. Maybe knight f4 is, however. So for that reason, I may just want to get rid of his knight. I think I'm going to do it. Still have extra pawn. Gonna get castled. Man, strange game. Strange game, but it is definitely strange in a good way for us. Like, you know, people say avoid strange positions, stuff like that. Sometimes you cannot really do that, and it's much better to be on the to have a strange position when it's a strange position that is good for you. So if that was not obvious, I don't know how to explain it else, but it is how it goes sometimes. Okay, what are we gonna do next? You can play d4 and develop this bishop. However, if you're wearing an imaginary suit, you can also play the move b3, saying, oh, maybe the bishop is nice on this long diagonal. Or maybe even we could play like bishop a3 and try to surprise opponent. So I kind of like this idea a little bit more just because, yeah, I feel like d4, bishop f4, the bishop was kind of hitting nothing. Even though like d4, bishop e3, definitely okay. Not a mistake if you play that way. So we'll have to watch out for a little bit of a trap, I guess. Bishop c5, bishop a3, rook e4, hitting the queen. But we have a queen move that's covering the bishop. And that's queen a6, which, yeah, I think should be reasonable. Also because bishop c5, there is some incentive to sacrifice the pawn. Usually the nice part about being up a pawn is that you can give back the pawn. So you can sort of transform it in, let's say, a positional advantage. Because I just feel like bishop b2, or I mean bishop a3 there, rook g4, maybe he was getting a little bit too active. I'd much rather give up a pawn that was not really doing a whole lot just to kind of activate my pieces. So I think that's generally a very good mindset. Not sure if it's like objectively best in this position, but I think it's definitely very interesting and sensible choice. Now on rook d4, however, bishop b2 is no longer that strong, I feel like, because of rook d2. So we'll have to adapt and perhaps play bishop e3. Or maybe another interesting move, by the way, guys. Perhaps that's even better. I think I'm going to end up playing it, so you can go ahead and try to pause the video. White has a very powerful concept, because we have a move that's just going to stop the enemy king from castling, which means it's going to be way easier to attack. So for those of you that are a little bit newer to the game and do not understand why black cannot castle, well, they cannot castle if the king goes through check. So castling is this, king goes via f8, so that's not a legal move. If, let's say, the position was a little bit different and the king was not going through check, that's typically happening with long castle and the bishop covers that. There's no such thing as check for the rook, so they can easily long castle, but I'll try not to make it super confusing here. Just saying, if he's trying to castle, that is gonna be illegal. Chess.com won't allow him. And next, just imagine this move is so powerful. Give us 2 tempis, rook c1, rook c8, that's a checkmate, because e7 is taken. Queen a5, I told you that these guys have no patience. Every single move for the last like 10 moves, he did attack something. I mean, did a pretty decent job in yeah, making some threats, but not more than that. And whenever opponent is attacking your piece, like a very kind of natural instinct, maybe to try and move your piece. Here we have interesting alternative, also gaining a tempo, and this time Rook D2 may be risky because of Queen E1, that's pinning him. Still, not making it very obvious for me that I like that, so I just wanted to tell you that whenever they're making a threat, you should be making a stronger threat. So it's threatening Rook C8, picking up the Rook. And I think we'll continue with similar ideas. And just do Queen C2. Threatening Queen C8 and take that. So Queen A3, Queen C8, pick up exchange. Otherwise, I might be just checkmating him. Knight B6, trying to stop C8, actually forgets about C7. That's also allowing forced mate. So at this point, I think he has to take. I see no better alternative, and here you get to see why king in the middle is so exposed. So whenever you have a move like bishop a3, typically that is going to be one of the best moves in the position. Now, thankfully, we already had the open file, so we can make use of it. It was really important, though, to play this rook c1 move, kind of ignoring the threat. And yeah, now opponent just blunders mate. Don't have a lot of time on the clock to explain, but yeah, just this square is gonna be taken. And hey, king in the middle, vulnerable. Here's proof. Told you earlier, get a rook on c8, that is checkmate. You didn't believe me? Well, here you have it on the board. In case you're new to the channel, I just wanted to let you know that we're making a rating climb, meaning that I am taking a fresh account from 600 and trying to get it all the way up to 2000, explaining my thinking process as an international master and highlighting common mistakes that lower rated players tend to make. Currently, we're making a run with 1 e4 as white and playing the Caro-Kann as black. If you're interested in, let's say, a d4 rating climb, we have a bunch of these as well on the channel. So pick what you need and I'll see you around on the channel. So, okay. Definitely kind of a strange game. Earlier, I had a little bit of a prediction. You guys remember? I played bishop to b5 here, which was not the best move, was actually fine, leading to complicated position. I mainly wanted to show you knight b5 and then queen c6 check, inviting bishop d7, so then we can take. Oh, by the way, that was not even a checkmate. I forgot that the queen can go back, but that's anyways like good for us. I thought this is a checkmate, honestly. Forgot the queen moved backwards. What a concept. I know. Just take and take knight. So that was kind of initial prediction. Game goes on, we're up a pawn, opponent just attacks everything. We don't care, we get castled. b3, I think interesting idea. And now I'm curious, because can definitely maybe do this. Maybe go bishop b2, but I think d4 very nice practical move. Yeah, d4 top line, as you can see. In case you guys ever had doubts. Yeah, d4, as I was saying, as dumb as it may sound, sometimes the advantage of having an extra pawn is that you can give it back. That's exactly what we did here. Just gaining time. If opponent declines the sacrifice, bishop a3 is stronger because he no longer has rook e4 as an intermediate move. And yeah, after he takes, as I was saying, bishop a3 top line, bishop e3, nothing wrong with it, but typically whenever you can stop the enemy king from castling, that's one of the best moves here, top line. So this is why chess is easy. Generally, if you follow this kind of basic rules, another basic rule, whenever opponent's making a threat, always look for a stronger threat. That's how we come up with best move rook c1. And on king d8, we just need to start kind of infiltrating. He was supposed to just give up on this idea and play down an exchange. Needless to say, it wouldn't have really helped. So, yeah. If you're looking for an interesting weapon against the Caro-Kann, well, it's not gonna kill the Caro-Kann, but for sure, from my experience, from the students that I've worked with, kind of everybody is a little bit uncomfortable while facing this second move, c4. so-called Pseudopanov, so you may want to give it a try with this interesting idea of taking and then queen a4 followed by queen b3, sticking with a pawn on d5. So with that being said, I think we can move on to the following game. All right, everybody, as mentioned, I said that I'm gonna give away the what I believe to be at least the best line for black. So this is exactly what I'm gonna be giving in my upcoming Chessable course on the Caro-Kann. So yeah, what I really like for this variation from White's perspective is that it is so forcing, so easy to prepare, especially for blitz games, because just think about it. We play queen a4. They have to block with a knight, play knight c3. They have to fianchetto, get the bishop to c4 protecting d5. They develop, we play d3. Always, that's a nice structure. So whenever they go like knight b6, knight takes on c4, in future, of course, we can take back with a pawn and defend these two guys together. And after a6, black has a threat of going b5, bishop b5, knight b6 is the idea. Then we lose a piece, so we need to sidestep, setting up a small bait because b5 now, white just wins another pawn. So they are supposed to play b6. That's best move for black. Castles, bishop b7, rook e1, targeting e7. It's nice here to start b5. And then simply black needs to defend. And in this position, we're going to have a variety of moves for white that we're breaking down in the course as black. But I think the most interesting one and kind of the only problematic line is bishop e3. Because this is what Badur Jobava plays on a regular basis, and he has so many games and has managed to trap so many grandmasters. It's like truly impressive. And by the way, this is kind of where the theory begins. So if you're a lower rated player, it may be very difficult to get to this point, but if you're above 2000, I'd say like most of your games can reach this position from where, yeah, the black players will generally not know very well what they're doing. And hey, you catch somebody here after knight b6, d6 is the point. So what is actually happening? Well, you see, black develops in like a very nice fashion, plays down a pawn for a while, and at some point you will get to this point where white can no longer hang on to the pawn. And in order not to just get a worse position, white needs to come up with this d6 move. And this is basically saying, all right, we're giving back the pawn, but you're going to get an isolated pawn as well. So black has to go e d6, and then knight g5 is the interesting move. That's attacking f7. And the weaker computers don't really understand this idea, and they just think, okay, knight bd5, black is doing more than fine. But then already Jobava has many games with this knight f7 idea. And bishop to g5, and white is much better because black is pinned all over the place. This is definitely very unpleasant. So in order to avoid this, it would be better to deal with the knight f7 threat simply by playing d5. And I don't think white has anything better than queen a5 and enter this type of balanced endgame, which, hey, is even, but if you're doing this in a blitz game, in let's say like 3+0, it's way easier to remember this as white, and you can reach this position with like 2 minutes 30 on the clock, while your opponent is probably close to a minute, so you're gonna have a huge time advantage. And this is basically how Jobava wins most of his games with his variations. So with that being said, I think we can just move on to the following game, where we're gonna have a look on how to take advantage of this super common mistake where you just take with a queen, allowing white to develop while gaining time. All right, everybody, getting another white game. Gonna be going e4, and we do get to see another Caro. Okay, we're gonna be sticking with a Pseudopanov. Gonna be taking twice. And I'm glad that we get to show how to play this kind of isolated queens pawns positions. Because the nice thing about this structure is that, well, you will be getting a reasonable position without having to know much theory. So you play d4. Bishop typically goes to c4 if you decide on playing it this way. Bishop d3 is also fine. I may actually stick with it now. But typically it's bishop c4. And then, yeah, like it ends up, we play a3, knight f3, bishop g5, queen d3, rook, rooks could go like d1, e1, bishop a2, bishop b1. However, in this position, yeah, I think I may stick with the same. I'm just going to start with knight f3 just because he no longer has the pin, because he blocked the bishop. Typically, they're supposed to now play b6, bishop b7, but I'm not super sure whether having the queen on a5 would work. And okay, bishop b4. I'm generally pretty happy to see this because it means they're going to take, which is going to improve our pawn structure. So I'm just going to defend, making sure we're not losing a pawn and continue with development. Now that I already committed with bishop d2, it's not making a whole lot of sense to play bishop c4, since I already expect him to take and then I can push the pawns. The bishop would be a little bit misplaced there, so I'd much rather have it on d3, perhaps utilizing it for any kind of kingside adventures. Just gonna get castled, expect him to take sooner or later. I could also try to force him to take by playing a3. We can go rook e1. I think I'll just start a3 now. Rook e1 could potentially be met by rook d8, and then on a3, maybe he goes bishop f8, which I kind of doubt he will. That's actually maybe interesting for us. Yeah, I'm still gonna play rook e1. I'm just trying to, let's say, get this in the best version possible. And I did see a trap there too, which has to do a bit with why I play this instead. But okay, let's see. I think like a lot of players for this rating range, they just give up on trying to get an active square for the bishop and they play bishop d7. But okay, rook d8. Opponent goes for a good move. I'm counterattacking. If he takes, we're of course taking with the pawn. We don't care about the tempo. He just moves the queen and then we have no purpose for our position. I'm gonna take this way. So we have nice pawns, no weaknesses, and then we're gonna get a nice attacking construction. He goes bishop to e7. Okay, I was hoping bishop f8. But anyways, the trap was not working. For some reason, I was considering queen d8, but I forgot the rook covers that square. So, yeah, if you couldn't visualize that variation, well, that's because it was an illegal move. So that was my bad. Okay, I'll take that. Okay, his queen, however, looks a little bit suspicious to me. Just a little. He's not really threatening knight d4 because I'm gonna have a trap. Question is, do I just go queen e2? I think queen e2 is reasonable. Pretty nice square. I don't see an immediate way to trap his queen, and I'm just setting up a little bait, inviting him to take, which normally they will because they like to fall for traps. However, more clever would be just to play bishop d7, bishop e8, and rook c8 with a reasonable position. Reasonable position unless his queen is getting trapped, and I don't see it, of course. But problem with knight b5 is that he has queen b6, and I don't see how we can follow up the initiative from there. Like, you go bishop f4 trying to play bishop c7, but he has knight d5, and that's attacking the bishop and also covering the c7 square, so not a huge fan of it. Just trying to develop now. Play rook d1 and then bishop to g5. The bishop is not like gonna stay forever on d2. It was developed there specifically because we had to deal with his threat earlier, if you remember. Okay, queen b6. Still, I really feel like I want to debate him. I'm gonna go rook d1. I feel like taking either of the pawns is very dangerous. So let's see if he's gonna take any. I can obviously play a move like bishop e3, defend everything while maybe having d5 ideas, but I knew he was going to bite. Now queen d4 only move, but I feel like his queen is gonna be really vulnerable, and against that I thought bishop e3 should be strong enough, potentially winning a full rook. Maybe even back rank checkmate alert. We'll see. I think at this point he has to play e5, but even that's probably not saving. Just get a back ranker. The problem for him is that I'm not only threatening to take the rook, but I'm also threatening another wombo combo after. And okay, bishop to c5. I think you're okay with bishop takes on d4, but there is actually something even better, I was thinking. Is it? No, I don't think it is. I was considering knight a4, but forgot the rook can take. So knight a4 would typically be a nice idea. He has to move the queen, you take the bishop, then you take the rook. But knight a4, rook a4, simply, it's no good here. So, however, in kind of the same spirit, maybe there is b4. So just hitting the bishop, and bishop b4, we have intermediate move. So taking the full rook there. And before rook d3, we have queen d3. And that's mating, wow, because the bishop is pinned. Look at this. This is going to be so beautiful. b4. There's like nothing wrong with taking the exchange, but I think this is like way stronger. And this is an important skill, by the way, that you need to pay a little bit more attention to. Because now that we are climbing up the ladder a little bit, getting closer to 1300, you're going to have a lot of these decisions where, let's say you can win exchange. It's like +1. Say you're much better. But you also have a move that's completely ending the game like b4. So from like getting to position where it's only +1, you just end the game. Because what could happen a lot of the times where, let's say you get the +1, maybe your opponent plays faster, you get flagged, and then all kinds of like nasty things tend to happen. Instead, you just... The only thing that you need to do here is not autopilot, because bishop c5 is very easy, autopilot, boom. Take exchange and then look for moves. So just here, you don't need to like overdo this, but spend like 10-15 seconds, maybe ask yourself, okay, bishop d4, but is there anything better? And this way, you're gonna win like so many games. This move just forces resignation. You can also check it with the engine. It's like you take on d4 +1, yeah, as I was saying. Not even +1, okay, barely +1. You just a miss, gonna be a long grind to win this. You play b4 +5, the guy resigns. So I hope this kind of proves a point. I was not expecting a resignation, but just to show you a line that would have been probably typical. Rook d3, I go queen d3. Yeah? He's got bishop hanging this. He does this for sure. Queen d8. Back ranker, he gets mated. So this is just an illustration of how bad his position really was. Then bishop b4, there is bishop d4. It takes, and then there is the wombo combo. Check, and then pick up the queen. So this is just pretty easy. And yeah, I don't think he was supposed to bite. In case you're wondering, queen b2, I think knight b5 was problematic. Apparently rook b1 is better. Knight b5 second move, but apparently only rook b1 is keeping the advantage. And knight b5, he has like queen a2, and I just felt like his queen should get in trouble somehow. Also, his queen is getting in trouble this way. The rook c1, rook a1, kind of trapping it next. Yeah. These kind of things feel natural to me. Once again, if you don't have the intuition of an international master, there is definitely nothing wrong with bishop e3, just defending your pawns and getting a reasonable position. Go rook d1, bishop b1, bishop g5, then go queen d3, fort g6. Once that happens, okay, let me just put some moves on the board to give you a better idea how these would generally go. Okay, let's say we play, I don't know, just making some moves, ignore me, play queen d3, threatening this and that. He plays g6, now bishop is useless, go back to a2. Have ideas sometimes to sacrifice on e6, sometimes you just take and play d5. These are like typical ideas for the IQP. White is getting interesting play. I think black should definitely be okay. I usually prefer to play these type of positions as black, but hey, if there is a skilled player with white, they could be getting interesting attacking chances. So I hope this kind of clarifies the idea behind the pseudo Panov and well, how you basically deal with these positions after queen d5, which just give you an extra tempo compared to the normal Panov. This is, by the way, why this is better than the traditional one. You take, you play c4, they're gonna go like knight f6, knight c3. You're just gonna get the same type of positions down a tempo compared to when they make the mistake of taking with a queen, which you have no idea how common is. If you check it in the Lichess database, this is the most played move. So white is just instantly better after knight c3 and then d4, simply getting an improved version of the IQP. So with that being said, I think we can really move on to the following game.